I haven't made a video in a while. Haven't done any of the vlog entries. I don't really have an excuse. I guess I wasn't really thinking about it. But I'm sitting outside of Robert's Camera right now in Indianapolis. I had heard about Robert's Camera back when I was in Taiwan, actually, which is crazy enough. I'm from Indianapolis, and I guess because I wasn't really into photography while I was here, I never heard of it. It's still kind of strange because I know several photographers, but like from Indy, but I'd never heard of Roberts. But once I actually went to Taiwan, there were several photographers there and local camera shops who knew about Roberts. So that was funny. But anyway, when I got back, I came in and I checked them out. It's a big place, really, really nice people, really friendly staff. Everybody's helpful. I'm not saying that as any sort of a plug. I just mean one of the things I've noticed is that customer service in general has gone to shit for the most part. Most of the places I've gone here, if I find somebody who's friendly or helpful, it's a good day, because most people are just arrogant pricks for the sake of being arrogant pricks. And then all of a sudden I come here, and the very first guy I talked to was incredibly friendly. Like, it was really a pleasure to talk to him. He would tell me about when he talked about personal stuff. He knew I just got back from Taiwan. He told me about time he spent over, and he was in the Air Force. And then he introduced me to another guy who worked there, and that guy was really friendly. And then I was talking to both of them, and they introduced me to another guy who worked there. And then I ended up talking to the owner, and I ended up probably talking to nearly every employee in the store, and they were all just unbelievably down to earth, chill, friendly, cool, nice people. And it makes you really enjoy being there. So anyway, fast forward, I've been wanting to get into film photography for a while, but I keep finding excuses to not do it. I love old film cameras. I like old stuff anyway, but I love old cameras. And not just like the popular or the high end or the trendy ones, just any of them. I just love old cameras. And I love film. I love the nostalgic idea of film and the look, and I actually enjoy the grain, which I'm not actually against noise when it comes to digital photography either, if it suits the photo. But anyway, I'm one of those guys who wants my digital photographs to look like film. And I always had all these excuses for not doing it, like, oh well, film's not popular anymore, and it's it's expensive to find the film. Most places don't carry it. You have to order it, and it's kind of expensive. And then it's harder and harder to find places that'll process it. You have to do it yourself, which means buying darkroom equipment, which is expensive and time consuming, and I don't know what I'm doing. Just all this stuff. But a couple weeks ago, about a week and a half ago, I was in a flea market, and I found, sitting up in the corner, in the dark corner of this flea market, was this Yashica FX103 program with a lens attached. It's a 55 millimeter 1.4, and it's funny because the black stuff here, whatever you want to call it, the grip, the cover, whatever, it's in rough shape. It's kind of worn, but the metal itself is very clean. It's in great shape. The dials look good, and even the bottom plate, like everything, you open it up, the inside's really clean. The viewfinder's clear, no fungus, and the light meter works, and everything on it works. And I have loved messing with this camera, so I bought some film, just some cheap little Fuji 200 to put in it, and I spent 3 days, rookie mistake, man. I spent 3 days carefully taking photos of like these great things. So excited to see how these great photos would turn out on film. And at the end of the 3 days, I shot my last shot, and I went to wind the film, and I realized that I had not actually been the film hadn't been feeding. I had not pulled it over enough in the feed tray, so the second set of teeth had not caught. So as I was flipping through and trying to advance the film, this was never spinning. It was never actually advancing. So it was 3 days of careful photography to waste. But I got it loaded up in there right now. And I just in one day, I quickly went through and just fired off some photos. And now I'm in here, or I dropped them off. I dropped the film off here just to see if it works all right, to make sure that the aperture's not, or the aperture, not the aperture, make sure the shutter's not sticking, make sure there's no light leaks. Just kind of see how it turned out. See how accurate the light meter is. Because I used the aperture priority on this to test that, since I usually shoot an aperture priority with my digital. But while I was here at Roberts dropping off my film the other day, I saw that they had this little Canon Canonette QL17 G3, and it is in fantastic shape. All the cover's clean, the metal's clean, everything on it's great. It works. The only problem is that it doesn't have a battery in it for the light meter, and I think they don't make this battery anymore. I tried to improvise the same battery that goes in here, the 357s, SR44 size. I tried to use that and some aluminum foil in the bottom of this to kind of take up the space, and it didn't work. So I don't know if it's just the light meter's broken or what, because I've heard that fix works for other people on this camera. But when I got this camera, they also gave me a few free rolls of expired film. Like, oh, let's grab a few of those out of the tray. So I loaded it up, and I've been taking, past couple days, I've been taking shots with this and shots with this, just to see how that goes. With this, I'm basically using the Sunny 16 rule, and except I don't want to shoot at 16. I've got it wide open at 1.7. A few times I've shot at 1.7. So it'll be at 1.7, and it's a 400 ISO film speed. So I'll basically put it at max shutter speed of 500, which, man, at 500 film, 500th of a second and 400 ISO film, shooting at 1.7 on a sunny day, I'm probably going to be way overexposed and blown out. So I've tried to only do that when there's certain parts that are super bright, but the rest of the area is kind of in the shadows and dark. Hopefully that'll give the effect that I want, of like blown out highlights, but usable shadows, dreamlike stuff. But anyway, I'm now sitting outside of Roberts. Like I said, they don't open for another 20 minutes, so I'm just sitting here waiting for them to open so I can go in there. I'm going to ask them about the battery situation with this camera, see if they have any suggestions, and see about when my film will be done today. I'm really excited to pick it up and see how that turns out. I also have my digital on me. I always keep my little Olympus EM5 Mark II on me. It's funny because I really just want to use the built-in light meter that's in one of these cameras, or not use one at all, because I've heard of people using their digital camera's light meter to test exposure, and then once they get that right, they'll transfer those settings over to their film camera. I've also heard of people using light meter apps on their phone with some success. So I downloaded one, but I haven't done either of those things. I guess it's just, it feels too cumbersome to do either. So I'm just guessing with my exposure settings on my film, which could turn out good or bad. The first year I was shooting, actually, the very first year that I owned a real camera, I understood the importance of shooting in manual, like right from the start, right when I bought the camera. So for the first year, I only shot in full manual mode, and I would set it up, and I would change my settings for every single photo I took, and basically see what the results were afterwards. And doing that made me get really good at just exposing, or figuring out the exposure by my eye, just by looking at a scene and figuring out what I needed to do. But that's been a while ago, so I might be fucking myself. We'll see. We'll figure it out. We'll find out. I'll post another video. It's one of those crappy, boring videos where it's just like a photo slideshow. Actually, that would take editing software. I don't edit any of these videos, as you can see. I just record it with my phone and then I upload it directly. So I'll probably just flip through the photos. But that was the other cool thing, speaking of that, was my mom, she has my great-grandpa's old camera. It's an old Miranda. I think it's a Miranda F. But she still has that and it still works. So I loaded film into that and I've been shooting with that one too. And that one's crazy cool for a lot of reasons. It's got the waist level viewfinder or the eyepiece you can put on there, like the prism you can slide on. And she also gave me like a box of 100 different slides. No, sorry, 100 per box, and there's 3 boxes, so it was 300 different slides, old color slides that her dad had taken, the photos that her dad had taken during a trip to Europe, like back in 1972. So I set up the light box and I've been putting those slides on there. And the way I've been improvising and transferring them to digital was I set up my light box and I would put a slide on there, and I would take the 50mm off my film camera actually, and I'd flip it backwards to kind of utilize it as a macro, and I'd put it directly over the slide, and then I'd take my cell phone and I'd put it on the front of the camera lens, and it actually worked really well as like a macro amplifier or magnifier, I guess, and really detailed, well focused, and exposed properly. And I would take the photo with my phone in HDR mode, and then I'd go through in Snapseed, and I would crop out any of the edges of the lens that was getting in there, and I'd make sure the exposure settings were correct and everything else. But yeah, I've been doing that, and it's really cool to kind of see the world of 45 years ago through my grandpa's eyes. So I don't know, it looks like people are starting to show up, starting to do their stuff. It won't be open for another 15-20 minutes, but that's that for now. This video is almost 13 minutes long, so that's what's going on with me. That's my life right now. Hoping to get back to Taiwan soon because I'm pretty much over this whole America experiment, but it is what it is. We'll see what happens.